What's up, everybody? James Zheng here, biblical success coach. I help entrepreneurs get unstuck and achieve quantum leaps biblically. Today, we're going to be talking about what to do when you hit a brick wall in your quantum leap. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, like this, share this, also subscribe to our YouTube. We put this and all the other ones also online as well. But I'd love to hear, where are you coming in from today, whether live or on replay? Comment below, and I'd love to know where we have representation of. I'm out here near San Francisco and excited to talk about this. So we are smack dab in the last week of January. Can you believe that? Already this year is flying by, and 1 month in, as we are going through our quantum leaps, it is bound to happen that I wonder how many of you have hit a brick wall with your goals. Hit a brick wall with your quantum leaps. Put a me in the chat if that's happened for you. You ran, you launched out of the gates, and you went boom. Challenge happened. A breakdown happened. A misfortune happened. Some things are things that were in our control. Maybe we took a wrong business strategy and we're like, oh, that was not good. Some things were not in our control. It almost seems like whenever you make a big decision, have you ever felt like, why does it kind of feel like things just get all crazy? You know, it's like, oh my gosh. It's like ridiculous how this thing all works and everything. And if you start to understand how this world works, you start to understand how quantum leaps work, and you know what to do when the inevitable happens, then you're going to be able to bulldoze through, and you're going to be able to achieve the victory that you're looking to do. I know. And in fact, even if you read through the book of Genesis, you notice there's a pattern that after creation comes disruption. So any single time that you make a decision, any single time that we decide to go somewhere, know that there's going to be some chaos that's going to happen. In our minds, what you're doing is, why do we hit these, how do we get these why do we hit these brick walls? And a quantum leap is when you are able to achieve remarkable results without much apparent effort. A lot of that deals with your mind. And what you're doing is, as you're making a decision to 5x, 10x, whatever the goals it is that you're going for, what's happening is you're constantly going against your subconsciously held beliefs, your paradigm. So there is inevitably going to come a time, let me just use a simple example of losing weight. You're on a good journey of losing weight, and all of a sudden your old habit kicks back in. You go to a family party, you get a little bit tempted. I don't know if this ever happened to you. You're like, I'm doing well. And you're like, I'll just have that dessert just a little bit. And how many times has that little bit of dessert turned into a lot of dessert? And then it turns into days, and then it turns into a week. And all of a sudden, you go back to where you started at. I don't know if that's ever happened to you before. That's definitely happened to me, right? So what do you do when you hit this brick wall of your quantum leap? Here's a couple things to consider. Number one, there's no guilt or there's no shame. I think the first thing that happens to a lot of us, at least I'm speaking on myself, is when I hit a brick wall, I think to myself, you should have known better. You should have done better. You knew this would happen. Here it is again. How quick is it that we're able to start to deprecate ourselves into oblivion? We like beat ourselves down to a pulp. And that's one of the primary strategies that we're removed from our calling, because we just talk ourselves out of this. So there's no guilt, there's no shame. Just understand it's a part of the process. If you watch a kid learning how to walk, you don't see the kid beating himself up, not knowing how to walk right away. So as we're going through our journey, our growth process, we shouldn't beat ourselves up as well too. Whenever we hit a brick wall, just know, hey, this is a part of the process. So number one, remove that guilt, remove that shame, but reframe it and replace it with, all right, I'm a human being. What can I learn from this? Every failure is a learning lesson. So what did you learn this time? You hit this wall. What did you learn this time? I think about a Super Mario game. Did you guys play Super Mario at all? You know, like the old school Super Mario, like the Super Nintendo Super Mario. It's like there's that one part in the level that you run to and you can't like you can't jump across the cliff enough and you keep on dying right there, right? There happens to be, that's that wall that we face when we're going for a quantum leap. When we lunge towards this, there's going to be one part of the video game that it seems like we keep on hitting our head against. So when we look at that, what do you do in the Mario game? All you do is you think, all right, how do I do it different? How do I do it better? Maybe I need a running start. Maybe I need to jump from a higher ledge. Maybe I need to jump on that Koopa Troopa thing and jump off the shelf. You know what, Mar, you know what I'm talking about, right? In our lives, in our quantum leap goals, if you hit your head on the same wall, maybe it's you in your business, and you notice that when you hit a certain part towards your goal, you give up. Maybe it's a certain part in your pipeline, in your sales process that seems to crumble when you get there. Maybe it seems like it's a life circumstance that comes in. Maybe it's you dealing with your kids or your family, and you always get distracted, right? There's something that continues to habitually take you down. So there's no guilt, there's no shame. And then you evaluate it and you think, what can I do differently the next time? If we keep on doing what we're doing, we're going to keep on getting what we're getting, right? So learn from the process. Don't waste the failure. Don't waste the hurt. Don't waste the brick wall. Use it as an opportunity to evaluate, and just know that failure is your first attempt in learning. Sometimes it's a second attempt, sometimes it's a third, sometimes it's 100, right? Sometimes we have to go through it a couple of times. But if you keep on the repetitive process and you keep on thinking, how do I get over this? You will solve the problem. Okay? So what do you do when you hit this brick wall in your quantum leap? Number one, remove the guilt and the shame. Just know it's a part of it. Number two, reevaluate it and think, what can I do differently the next time? And number three, go back into that attitude of gratitude on having your goal already being achieved. When you're in the midst, especially right now, we're in the end of January as we're doing this conversation. It's very simple for us to have forgotten the reasons why we're even setting goals in the first place. We forget the dream. We forget the feelings. We forget the excitement. We forget the joy. And we start getting really, really tied up in the muck and tied up in the roots with things, right? We get really, really tied up in the daily do that we forget the bigger vision. So we have to remind ourselves, this is a good time to go back to your, what we call a C-type goal. This is a good time to go back to your vision and start to really just put yourself in that state of having it already be achieved. Jim Rohn says the promise of a future is an awesome force. We need that promise. And perhaps we need reminding of that. It's our energy tank. It's our fuel source. It's an expectation of the good things to come that give us that ability to pick ourselves up again and go for it again. So we might need to revisit that goal. We might need to put more detail to it. We might need to, maybe you need to go on YouTube and imagine and go to maybe if you have a goal of vacation, maybe you have to look up some YouTube videos and start painting that image. If you want a new car, maybe you need to go visit the car. If you need if you want an experience with your family, maybe you need to envision that already being done. Spend a little bit more time going back to that dream until you get excited again. So you have an expectation of a hopeful future. So you have that fuel source again for what must be done right now. So 3 things to do when you hit that brick wall, which will always happen, guys. It's always going to happen. If you feel like, man, why is this happening again? Why am I getting challenged again? Every level will have new devils, is the same. Every level is going to have its own challenge, but that is the part, that is the joy, that is the process so that we can grow to become the people that we're designed to be. Number one, remove the guilt and shame when you hit that brick wall. It happens. Boom, you're a normal person, right? It just means that you're not there yet. It just means that you haven't become that person yet and you haven't done that thing yet to help you overcome. Just because you hit a brick wall doesn't mean it's impossible, right? So remove the guilt and shame. Number 2, reevaluate it and think, what can I do differently? How do I approach this differently? How do I overcome this challenge? Learn something different. And number 3, put yourself back into that state of gratitude of your dream already having been achieved. and get yourself back into those good vibes. Get yourself back into those good emotions. That expectation of the future is such an important thing. You need to boost up that faith again. You need to boost up that excitement. You need to boost up that anticipation to the point where you're like, I can't wait to get back in this game. Otherwise, you know what's going to happen the next time you're going to run. It's like going back to the Mario Bro game. Can you imagine you're playing Super Mario Bros. And you're trying to jump over this cliff and you died the last time? You know, one thing for sure that's not going to work in that cliff jump is if you try to go again, but this time you're doubting. This time you're scared. This time you're like, what if it happens again? And instead of going full speed ahead and doing a running jump, can you imagine right before the jump, you start to inch and you start to slow down and you start to put on the brakes and then you still jump? You're going to die in that game. You're not even going to hit the brick wall that time. You're going to fall so short to the point that if you're not careful, you will convince yourself that it's not even possible and you will stop even attempting to go towards your goal. Remind yourself, refuel yourself, go towards that with full enthusiasm again, and just know that you keep on this process, and it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the breakthrough actually comes. So I hope this encourages you. If it does, share this, like this, subscribe to our YouTube, put this and all of our other daily wisdoms there as well too. 10-15 minutes every day, we go through this quantum leap time together. My commitment to you is you stick through with these day in and day out. You're going to go through quantum leaps in your businesses, in your lives, and the things that you want. And that I'm so excited to hear all the victory stories. Keep it up, everybody. This is the time to double down. All right, everyone. Other than that, thanks for being on here today. Cheers to your quantum leap, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.